Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the QRL Show, the place where you come for the crypto and stay for the quantum. For today's episode, myself, Ryan Malinowski, and Michael Strike from the QRL core team are hosting a live development-focused AMA on all things Zond with lead blockchain developer Kaushal Kumar Singh. This live AMA is both on YouTube and X Spaces. So whether you're viewing or listening into this, we'll read everything out loud question-wise as we go, so it's easy to follow along. Kushal and Michael, it's good to have you guys with me in this soon-to-be holiday season.
Yes, exciting time, right? Is
Yeah,
2025 going to be the year of quantum? I
yeah,
don't
year
know.
of quantum, year of Zond, where we're going with stuff. What
Year of,
about you, Kushal?
definitely,
Doing good?
definitely year of John. Zond.
Yeah, it's nice to have you guys again and having this EMA after I think a long time, maybe a month or two, something like that.
Yeah. Well, what we're gonna do is a first kickoff kind of call. We have a number of community members that have been with us for many years. Some people maybe just a number of weeks. In recent days we've pulled dozens of questions, big and small, from the community. So we have just a ton to go through. Some people had questions around features, use cases, audits. So we've grouped some of those together and we have some newer community members. So, as a kickoff question, Kashal, and to you, Michael, as well, let's kick it off by QRL is having a big transition to proof of work, proof of stake with Project Zonda coming. Let's start out with this big one, overarching question. What is Project Zonda? If one of you guys wants to kick this one off, and that'll lead into our AMA today.
Kishal, go ahead.
Yeah,
Unless you
okay,
want me to.
all right. All right, so Zond is like the next big thing that we are working on for like I think 2 years, something like that. Even more than that because we started doing some research on our back before we decided to go with this. So Zond is going to be a post-quantum secure blockchain with the consensus mechanism of proof of stake. Along with that, it will have lots of dev tools that will help people or developers to build applications on the blockchain, such as by supporting the smart contracts on the blockchain, which means any applications that you develop on Zond by default becomes quantum secure. Other than that, we are also working on the new cryptography, which is the dilithium. So right now with the QRL, you just see one cryptography, which is XMSS, but with the Zond, you are going to have the ease of using a lattice-based cryptography, which is going to be completely stateless. And because some people have like for XMSs you have to remember your OTS indices. So yeah, we have this new dilithium stuff and lots of other tools that we are working on, such as the Chrome extension wallet, which will be very much similar to that of MetaMask, so that you can make transfer of funds on Zond network very easily or switch to any other network. It's like mainnet or testnet. You can just click on the Chrome extension wallet, switch to that, and then make transfers. Then other libraries like Web3.js to make it easier for the developers to build applications on the Zond. So yeah, it's lots of things that's coming up with lots of tools to help users and developers to become the part of the ecosystem or to contribute on it.
So, thank you, Kishal. Let's. I'm going to circle back a little bit of context for people that might not be familiar with the project as well too, and then for that broader audience, I'll try and summarize a little bit what you just said too. So, here at the QRL, we've been running our own layer one chain. We're not in ERC20. We're our own chain. We've been running for like 6 7 years, 6.5 years or so. We've been doing this for a long time. And since the first block, we are provably quantum computer secure. And you really have to be quantum computer secure since the first block. Otherwise, you're exchanging ECD SA information. Typically, 99% of blockchains do this with public-private key cryptography. We're the only ones in the space that are using government-recommended hash-based signature scheme right now, which was NAST recommended like 3 years ago, something like that. And and we're currently proof of work. As Kaushal said, we're moving to proof of stake. And we're also going from a stateful address signature scheme to a stateless address signature scheme. And on top of that, of moving from proof of stake to, excuse me, from proof of work to proof of stake, and on top of moving for adding another DSA, another way to make transactions, which are all quantum secure from the first block. We're also adding EVM compatibility. So if you can write code, this is a big one, guys. If you can write code in Ethereum, you'll be able to write provably quantum secure code and run an EVM on our chain. So in a lot of ways, what Ethereum did for EVMs, QRL is doing something similar, but provably quantum computer secure. So let's say you wanted to address quantum concerns within your own community, or within with your customers, whatever the use case of your blockchain is. You could always you could have part of it or all of it running on our network, and based on something very, very close to Solidity, or you can build half here, or all here, zero here. In other words, you'd at least be able to say that you have code running in a provably quantum secure ecosystem, and that right there is a really, really big takeaway. I don't think there's anyone. I don't think, guys. Is there anyone else in the world even doing this? Like post quantum secure EVM compatibility with, since the first block, using government grade cryptography. And if they say that they're doing it, I've not. I don't think they. I don't know of anyone. But maybe we
Yeah.
can get some comments in the
Yeah, there's
comments in the space.
yeah. I think that that kind of covers the high level from that, and kind of the importance of why this really matters in the space. Right now, we're having a little technical issue with the YouTube Live, but Twitter X Spaces is going perfectly. Let's jump into some. We pulled, as we mentioned before, we pulled a lot of AMA questions from online in the days prior to this. So let's jump in to get Kaushal on some of these dev questions. Let's jump into the first one. The first question is, what new possibilities or use cases will Zon give for developers and users in the QRL ecosystem?
Yeah, so with the use cases or for the users and developers, so it's like, let's begin with the developers. With the QRL existing proof of work blockchain, there are some limitations. It's like you cannot develop your apps because we do not have any kind of a smart contract into the QRL blockchain. So when we have the Zond, in the Zond we have Solidity as our smart contract language, which is going to be very much similar to that of Solidity. Not exactly Solidity, but yeah, we are making changes with some of the opcode, so it's going to be similar to that. So you can write and build your own applications such as DEX. You can build layer 2 blockchains, NFTs, staking pool, stable coins, anything. And the best part of is that whatever you build, it will have the post quantum security, just because the whole base of this blockchain is built from the post quantum cryptography. So these are going to make your application super secure. Other than that, we are going to provide lots of libraries to make it easier for developers to build on Zond. So, such as we have already released our Web3 JS library, which allows you to easily develop the applications or the user interface for the users. We have we have released this cryptography and wallet libraries both in JavaScript and Go language. So anyone trying to develop something into Go, they can use our wallet libraries, or if anyone's trying to build something with Node.js or any kind of JavaScript languages, they can use our crypto.js and wallet.js libraries to build those applications. And not only that, we also have planned to build these libraries for other platforms like Android and iOS, so that if anyone wants to develop something for iOS or Android, they can use those libraries. So that's in the plan. But other than that, the libraries for Node.js and the Golang is already in public. So recently we have also built the Zond Chrome extension wallet, which I think you guys have already tried that. So it's very much similar to that of MetaMask. It's going to help users to interact with the decentralized applications developed on Zond. So and it also makes easier for user to make transfer of funds. So if they have the Zond Chrome extension wallet, they can select the network and then see their balance tokens that they hold on their wallet and make all those transactions. We have recently started working on the ID. So till now we didn't have like built any kind of IDs. So you have to rely on some notepad or something like that to write the smart contract. But we are modifying the Remix ID so that people can use Remix ID and develop the smart contract, compile it, whatever the code is, and then can deploy using the Remix ID itself. So we are modifying that code. That process has begun this month, so it may take some time to get that released. Other than that, we are also working on the ledger side. So we are implementing the dilithium wallet on the ledger, and we are trying to see if how much work is required to make it efficient on the ledger devices, because these hardware has very low memory availability. So in that case we have to optimize so that it doesn't consumes lot of memory at the same time. uh, but yeah, I think it is possible to do that. So we are also working on that, which makes easier for both users and developers to generate wallet on the ledger devices. So yeah, all of these things we are working, and we have provided already the libraries and the Chrome extension wallet which developers can use. These things will be more matured and will be more stable when we will have the next testnet release. So that, because the Chrome extension wallet and the things that we are building right now is might not be completely compatible with the existing running testnet. But yeah, all of these will be provided to the developers to make their life easier to and to build on the Zond blockchain.
Any yeah, any particular recommendations for those developers that are looking to, jump on early? I think there might be another question or two in our AMA on this, but obviously beyond
Yeah,
joining our QRL Discord, any other recommendations for them in terms of internal
yeah, of
channels to
course.
jump into or who to ask for support?
So yeah, they can always contact us on Discord. We have already released the repository which has the example of how you can create smart contract on the existing running Zond testnet, how you can deploy that smart contract, how you can communicate with that and check like what's the balance of a specific token or something like that. So all these examples already provided in an open source repository. So uh, I will share the link so you can look into that. It's in the QR repository. So if they look into that, then they will have an idea how they can do it right now. But sooner, after I think in couple of months, we will also have those UI stuff, so it makes easier for them to do the interactions. But yeah, right now we already have the example,
Perfect.
and they can contact us on Discord or email, whatever way they prefer. Whatever help they need from us, we will try our best to answer that.
No, that works great. Let's jump into continuing in some of these AMA questions.
I'll just add one other thing.
Yeah.
A few years ago on project, I remember there was a moment where we kind of realized that, well, security and usability, or security and user experience, is always a trade-off, right? There's a negative correlation that exists there, and what we decided a few years ago was let's continue and upgrade the chain, but let's address how let's make it easier to on-ramp people. So from a development perspective, we're using Solidity. Okay, that automatically brings in a huge amount of development possibilities, because Ethereum has one of the largest blockchain dev communities on the planet, one of them. So that automatically handles quite a bit of development. Using the MetaMask, people are already familiar with Ethereum and how to use MetaMask. It's a very comfortable process. We're going to have, as Kaushal said, our own version of very similar MetaMask, except it'll be on the obviously on the Zond blockchain. So we spent a lot of time trying to make sure that we're making the barrier for entry as low, like the monkey bar,
Yeah, the
as
on ramps.
low as possible, so that anyone can do a chin up, right? And I'm really excited about this. So go
Yeah.
ahead, Ryan.
No, speaking of that, that kind of leads into the next question. I know we've covered this in a few instances, but feel free to add anything further to this one, Kaushal. This is just a community question, AMA, of what are the biggest innovations that Project Zond has compared to current QRL mainnet. Um, Feel free to bullet point any other points out here and just talk on stuff, whether it's innovation stuff out the gate once we're here with the official Zond. The public version of it. But yeah, cover what you'd like here, Kushal.
Yeah. So the one thing is we are moving away from proof of work to proof of stake. That's important if we want to include lots of validators and make it more decentralized, because with proof of stake, it's like everyone who is owning some part of the coins on the blockchain, they are also responsible for the security of the network. So it's like if you are owning some value, then you have the responsibility to take care of the network security. So that is going to be a big thing. Another thing is we are going to have the smart contract. So that's the big thing, which was a big challenge with the existing QRL blockchain, was you cannot develop applications on it, though it's still post quantum secure with the proof of network. And without the smart contract feature, it's like it's going to be hard for developers to build anything, though it is possible, but it's not that straightforward and easy. So the smart contract support is going to be a big thing for the Zond. And that means any applications, as I mentioned, any application that you develop by default going to have the post quantum security. So that's another thing that you have. So whenever you build applications on the Zond, you can always say that our application is post quantum secure, just because we are running on a blockchain which is post quantum secure since the beginning, which is the Zond project. I don't see any other project does that, but yeah, that's the biggest thing of all of the features.
A lot of projects are trying to make a name for themselves in the space, and as we know, we see a lot of memes and there's a ton of different blockchains, and everyone has on all the X spaces and podcasts I do. I find that everyone's using just different adjectives to try and describe how their project is unique. We have the advantage. It's been much easier for me because we have the advantage. We don't have to get creative into our uniqueness. We're leading this space, so it makes my job and Kashal's job a lot easier to be able to not have to be. We don't have to be creative or inventive as far as the use cases. The use cases speak for themselves.
Yeah, and we just have to help unpack it, and
Right.
depending on the level and how deep down the rabbit hole people have gone, there's a big spectrum too, from retail all the way up to institutions, and a lot in between. So, thanks for covering. Is there anything else to add to that one, Kushal? I know we have a number more of questions to get to.
Nothing right now, but yeah,
Yeah,
in future we will have.
yeah, perfect. This one is specific around tooling and features. I know you've touched on a little bit of this. Specifically, this is another question from the community. What specific tools or features does Zon introduce and make it easier for developers to build on? There's definitely overlap in this question. Anything else to add on tooling and features in terms of, and maybe this one we could break it apart in terms of what people can do now within testnet, as opposed to even more stuff they're going to be able to do in the coming months,
And I'm
covering
not
on
a
some.
and I'm not a developer either, but maybe some kind of compatibilities between Ethereum SDKs uh, and
Okay.
and how QRL. In other words, how easy would it be? How easy is it from an Ethereum dev to on ramp on a QRL once Zond is live?
So in terms of easiness, it's going to be pretty much easy. It's not going to be very much complex where you have to learn anything new. Most of the things, I would say, in simple terms, like 90 or 95% of the things are going to remain same in terms of writing smart contract code, in terms of interacting with the WebGS, Web3GS library that we are providing. The only thing is going to change is related with the cryptography. So cryptography, the wallet is going to change, because in Ethereum you work with the ECDS and all those stuffs, and where when you comes to the Zond, it comes with multiple cryptographies and the wallets like XMSS and dilithium. So yeah, that would be the only change, and couple of opcodes related to the cryptographies, because the Solidity language provides some kind of uh, opcodes which allows you to access the couple of data from the cryptography part. So those opcodes would change, but most of the time when developers write a smart contract, they don't use that kinds of opcodes usually. So in simple terms, it's going to be straightforward. It's not going to be a lot hard or something that you have to learn a new steps. It's going to be exactly or very much same to that of the Solidity. So yeah, and in terms of tools and features, we already going to have the Web3.js library, which I've already mentioned. Then we are also working on the IDE, which is going to be similar to that Remix IDE, where you can write your smart contract, compile it. Like you can have multiple files where you have multiple Solidity files, and then calling or importing each other's, and you can see everything on the IDE, and then you can just run, compile it, deploy it, or even test that on the IDE. Along with that, the wallet.js and the cryptography libraries that I've mentioned, which is already available in JavaScript. So you can use that to generate any dilithium wallet using the JavaScript code. But if you are a Go developer, we also have the library for that, Go QRL lib. So you can use that to generate wallet for both XMSS and dilithium using the Go library. We have planned to extend that for Android and iOS, because of course some developers may need to build some applications which and user interface on Android or iOS. So we have planned to include those libraries and release that for Android and iOS specifically, so that they can easily build something on the Android and iOS too. And with that, like, we also have this Chrome extension wallet, which is going to have more features in the upcoming months. So right now it can show you the balance, the zone that you hold, and some of the tokens. But yeah, we have planned to add more functionalities into this. But the existing Chrome extension wallet is also a good thing for our developers as well as for the users to do the transactions over the network.
So one
Along with
cool.
that, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so along with that, we have a plan. I think not many projects have done that, or I don't have idea about that. But the plan is to give the example code. So from the example code, I mean, we have planned to release some example code for the tokens. We have already released that, like how you can deploy or create a QRC20 tokens on our testnet. But we have planned to implement the example codes for staking pool and for the DEX. So these will give you a basic idea how you can create a DEX on the Zond blockchain, or how you can create your own staking pool on the Zond blockchain. This is the same thing that we have done when we released our proof of work. Then we released our code for this mining pool, how you can create your mining pool for the QRL proof of work network. So the same thing we are going with the Zond. We are going to add as much as examples possible so that people can easily build on the Zond blockchain.
So one of the cool parts about that is being able to build tokens, your own quantum secure tokens, right? And smart contracts. For a lot of projects, if you're a DEX or for whatever, you'll essentially be able to take your existing Solidity smart contract and forklift it over to the Zond blockchain and be post quantum secure. In other words, it's going to be really interesting just because of how easy it is to make that migration. That there's not going to be a lot of knowledge that needs to be learned, new knowledge that needs to be learned. So this is day one. Day one, I think that this is going to be this is really going to be a big thing.
Yeah, it's in terms of they already have the stack and the knowledge to be able to know to port it over to be complementary in what they're doing on Zond.
Right. I mean, if we're talking about dexes, there's a lot of dexes that are already out there. Jump on over here. You have an entirely new market. over here. You already have the code. Why would you not tweak the code and then drop it on this chain over here? And then
Yeah.
you have an entirely different ecosystem.
Yeah, this one kind of we're jumping around a little with questions just because there were so many and there's some overlap. But this is more of a high level one, which is just how does Zond maintain with the new evolution of where QRL is heading into? How does it maintain QRL's core principle of quantum resistance while making that transition from POS or POW to POS? This one is a little more macro, but if you want to just touch on this one briefly, I'm sure a number of people within the community are kind of interested in this. Kaushal or Strike, whoever wants to take this one.
So I'll summarize it, and then Kaushal can tell me where I'm wrong. So essentially, what we're doing is today we're using a one-time signature scheme, which is a hash-based signature scheme, which is provably quantum secure. However, it's stateful, and it has some limitations to it. So what we're doing is we're adding another signature scheme that's stateless, that's also approved by NIST for dilithium kyber, and you'll be able to use the old stateful XMSS hash-based signature scheme on the new Zond chain after the hard fork. Or you can also use the stateless, which will allow you to do staking through proof of stake. So if you really like the security of hash-based security, SHA-256, cryptographic hashes, if you just really love cryptographic hashes, you can keep that signature. You can keep that DSA. If you want to go stateless, and if you want to if you want to also stake your Zond, then you can use the new signature scheme. So that's my overall take. How'd I do, Kaushal?
Yeah, great. So you have already
Got
covered
it down,
lots of
Strike.
things.
Thanks.
Getting it.
Yeah. So along with that, I mean, but when we are transitioning from proof of work to POS, we are making sure we are not compromising the quantum resistant security. So it's like if we want to do the signature aggregation, we are avoiding that at this point of time in proof of stake because there is nothing specific or solid that we can say it's quantum resistance and it can be used for the signature aggregation. So there are some trade-offs, but yeah, we are making sure that we do not compromise with the quantum security. So for that, even if we have to ignore the signature aggregation in proof of stake, we are doing that. We are doing everything to make sure the security remains intact. The property of quantum resistance for our blockchain remains the same. But yeah, if we have to even make changes with the existing proof of stake uh, consensus algorithm, we are doing that. But yeah, we are doing nothing that would compromise this property of our blockchain.
Perfect. That's good and reassuring. Thank you for covering that one. This one we kind of covered a little bit already, so we can kind of gloss over it. This is just tied to how does Zond testnet provide value to developers. We kind of covered this one in the second question. I think there might be another one we'll come back to in a little bit.
An opportunity there for first mover advantage into the quantum space or post quantum security. Once Zond goes live,
Yeah, this is
take your existing contract. Yeah, and
yeah, for those listening in, the question was, how does Zond testnet provide value to devs? Why build today as opposed to waiting? So if you could just refresh on that once more, Strike, it would be helpful. For
first mover advantage into post quantum secure, and you already know Solidity, right? You've already got your contract. Written. It's probably already running on Ethereum for other projects out there.
Yeah.
So this is just an entirely new market. It doesn't, and the entry cost is really low. So it's kind of a no brainer. That's how I see it. That's how I see it. So,
let's go.
I'm sure there'll be lots of comments on this.
Yeah, let's go to this next one. I'll read it out for Kaushal. What stage are we currently at? There's testnet. There's a lot of nets. Mainnet. There's beta prior. Can you give the viewer? Not everyone listening or viewing into this has all the same context that the internal community has. Can you give us a little set the stage where we're currently at, where we're going to be heading? Also, maybe fill us in a little bit. There's going to be a couple questions and a few around audits. Can you give us a little context in terms of what happens when it gets handed to that audit stage as well? Because once that baton gets passed to there's a waiting period. So if you could, within your answer, help fill us in on that'd be really helpful.
Yes, you all heard that right. Our project is also audited. In fact, our first project was doubly audited. So when you're looking at other compatible projects,
So, Kaushal, take us away on
on
this
the
one. Where are we
list.
at today? What are the big baton passes in terms of getting us to where we're going to be upcoming later in 2025?
Yeah, so right now it's like we have already achieved lots of things. We hadn't planned to have this Zond Chrome extension wallet and all those stuffs like ID, everything is in progress. So Zond Chrome extension, we already finished that, and the IDE is in progress. So right now, yeah, we are still on testnet, and as I mentioned, we are also working on the Ledger side, the Ledger hardware wallet app for the Zond. So these things are working. Exact, the big thing which we have to finish for the Zond is the reward algorithm, which we have to make sure is something meaningful for the validator. So it should not be a lot less that it doesn't make sense for anyone to stake, and it should not be way too high because in that case it would have some a bad effect. So we are working on the reward and penalty algorithm so that if you misbehave, you get penalized with a meaningful amount of token so that you don't try to misbehave on the network. So it's kind of a game theory to make sure that okay, misbehaving gets penalized so that it makes sense. So the reward for misbehaving should be way too less for uh, compared to the penalty that you get for the misbehaving. So we are working on that, and with once that is finalized, like how much reward of validators, which means someone who is creating the block, someone who is attesting the block, and someone who is the part of the sync committee. So how much reward they will get. Once that is finalized, then I will share a small Python program for people to see how the mission works and how they are going to get the block reward and everything. So that's what the big thing that we have to finish. So once that reward and penalty thing is finished, then mostly we are going to work with this whole test stuff. So we need a lot more unit testings and integration testing. The existing tests are there, it's good, but I believe we need more to make sure the node is pretty much stable and secure. Of course, our last testnet is still running for I think it's going to be 1 year by next month. So, but still, I believe in more tests. So right now we are still on the testnet phase. We can expect one or two more testnet, but that's not going to be running for a long time like this one which is running. So and the feature wise, as I mentioned, the penalty stuff and the reward stuff, and then we have to make sure how we are going to tackle with this burning stuff, because in the Ethereum uh, proof of consensus proof of stake consensus, there is a stuff where your reward, some part of the fees that goes into the block is burned when there is lots of transactions and when there is lots of uh, load on the network. So we have to look into the burning part because it is a bit essential. I think we should consider that for a healthy proof of stake network, to make sure that some parts are burned, and but we have to proportionally increase that value, because in our case uh, it has to be higher because the ethereum's one ethereum is, in terms of dollars, it's a lot. So in our case, like one zond in terms of dollar is less, so we have to proportionally increase that burning thing. So these are the two important things that we have to work on to say that we can look into the audit stuff. Other than that, we are also working on the name changes, because name changes is important. And it sounds simple, but the thing is, when you do any kind of name changes, it will affect everything. So
You
for
have trickle
example,
effects of where that gets. Yeah.
yeah, so it's going to affect everything, Web3 GS to Chrism to Zond to the Zond Chrome extension wallet, as well as to the how you write the smart contract. Because when you are writing in a solidity language, in the smart contract, at the first line you start writing like pragma solidity and then the version name, something like that. So if we are making name changes with the solidity to something else, then your code would change like pragma space and the name that we have assigned for our smart contract language, so that and then the version. So all of those things are working in parallel. So yeah, you can expect one or two testnet max, and then we should be good for audit.
So to kind of summarize, Kaushal, what this is what I heard. Uh, the tech is done pretty much. We're just working on the tokenomics
That's true. Tokenomics and the name changes.
and the name change. So we're not trying to pass any technical hurdles here. We're just trying to finalize some of these tokenomic decisions and name change.
And the
Oh,
third is XMSS.
so these, yeah. So these are we're a go. I mean, these are easy problems. They just take sufficient amount of thought, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, that's the three things that has to be finished so that we can speed up to test next testnet and the audit. Yeah, but yeah, that's the main thing. But there's nothing other than this which is to be done on our to-do list. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. We have about a half dozen more questions that were earlier pulled from the community. We have a number of live questions from the X Spaces and from the community that I've just pulled in. Let's jump to a few of these. One around speaking of tokenomics. This one is, what will validator rewards look like? How will the emission curve change, if at all, when compared to what we have now? Anything on supply? There's a couple questions within this question here, so if you want to maybe touch on the first one, or just in general tokenomics, that way it kind of overlaps a few people's questions around this
I think
just a
we
little
covered
bit.
that one quite a bit
Yeah.
in the last one, but
Yeah, we covered it a little
Yeah.
bit, but anything else to add here in terms of if someone's just viewing in, just to get like a macro sense in terms of anything here? We got a number
So
more to get to.
yeah, so with the existing, like it's not going to be the same as proof of work, because in proof of work we have some curve kind of style how the mission declines with the time. It's not going to be like that, and if we try to do we try to make it exactly like that, then the reward would be so less that it doesn't make any sense for anyone to stake on the network. So that's why it's going to be a bit different, but exactly what it is going to be, uh, for that they have to wait. It's just because
To
I
be
mentioned
determined.
previously.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are still finalizing that. Once finalized, we will share a simple Python code so that they can see how what would be the emission after 10 or 20 years, something like that. They can see everything, whether we are going to change the maximum supply or keep it fixed. We will also let that know after we have done a bit more research, because still in progress thing. We are trying with the worst case. So the worst case is when we have or we have all the users on our Zond blockchain, everyone is trying to stake. Like, let's say we have 90 million zones. So it's like if everyone trying to stake, then what would be the block reward? Because as the number of validators increases, the reward starts to decline. That's how the proof of stake works. And if the number of validators decreases, then it's like your reward starts increasing, and or if it increases, then everyone receives less reward. So that's what we are working on to make sure that it remains meaningful. It should not be way too high, way too less. But yeah, for
Yeah.
simplicity, we will share them a simple Python code so that everyone can read it, everyone can see the graph, how it is, how the mission is working, and it would be meaningful, and everyone can understand the reason behind why we have done this, what is the specific reason behind that. And if someone gets like, okay, we can make few parameter changes and can do it like this, then we are open to hear that. So it's the
I was
same way
just
that we have shared the Python code last time for why we have a requirement of 40,000 QRL to the quanta for the staking limit. So yeah.
is it still 40K minimum
Yeah,
to
for
stake?
now it is. Yeah.
So 40. So in order to stake, we're talking 40,000 today quanta or QRL in
Well,
order to stake on Zond.
true. In order to stake, you need 40,000 quanta, but that doesn't mean if you have less than 40,000 quanta, you can't stake. There is a thing called staking pool. If you have less than 40,000 quanta, you can be the part of a staking pool if when someone will be running that on our blockchain. In that case, you can even do staking with that.
Or if you get a bad internet connection, you do not want to get slashed, right?
Next,
Yeah.
We're working on that.
next,
Kaushal, as you were talking, I thought about one thing that would be kind of cool as you were thinking about the tokenomics. What would be really interesting if there was, and there might even be out there, a program that's basically you type in your code and you put in your tokenomics and it runs game simulation theory for you.
Yeah,
That would be that would be a really interesting tool. I don't know if that's something that you'd ever considered, but essentially game theory is just math, right? Uh,
that's true.
Human behavior is somewhat predictable in that we have our own desires as consumers, right? And we usually pursue those desires in an ecosystem such as blockchain. So a game theory simulator would be pretty cool. But anyway, Ryan, put us back on track here, please.
Yeah, no, there's two questions coming up, and I'll group these a little bit in terms of the audit questions. I think we had this question in a previous AMA we did earlier in the year, but both questions essentially are around audit plans. So, in terms of you touched on this parts of this in terms of the phases of what's remaining. Can you just give the listeners, the viewers, a quick sense in terms of when we get to that audit stage, what does stuff look like? There's obviously aspects of that are out of our control in terms of the time period and when it gets past to that and gets passed back to us. Can you just give us a high level in terms of what that looks like? I know a lot of people at that stage will be excited within the community in terms of, hey, when is it ready? But that's an important step in terms of the security of our project. So if you could touch on this briefly, that would be helpful for the viewer and listeners.
Yeah. So audit will commence once we are finalized. I mean, from finalized, there are three things. The three or four major things that we have to fix is the reward penalty algorithm. Once that is done, then we have to introduce XMSs into this wallet and everything, all the libraries. And third, which is the last one, is the burning algorithm. How when you make lots of transaction and network has lots of load of the transactions, then the burning starts triggering. So once that those three things are done, I think then we are going to move to the audit. And how long the audit is going to take place, it totally depends on the auditor. It's not something that we could predict it. But yeah, worst case may 4 to 6 months, because this is not a small code. It's going to be a lot, but I'm just guessing here that it will take them 4 to 6 months, but it's up to the auditors. But we will try our best so that most of our codes, like of course the Zond Prism will be covered, along with that the ID, the Remix ID, the Zond Chrome extension wallet which runs on the Chrome, everything is going to be audited. But our first priority would be to get the Prism and Zond audited first, and then depends upon the outcome of the audit what changes we have to do, we will do that. And after that, like these things, the other tools that we have, the critical tools, especially the one that deals with the wallet, which is the Zon Chrome extension, and all of those will be audited too. We cannot name the auditor who will be the auditor at this point of time. We have some in our list, but it's not good to name that in public unless we have finalized something. So yeah, that's
Yep.
how
Yep.
it is.
We're on it. And thanks for covering that
I
one.
just want to do a lob in there too for any of the newcomers to this project. We've been talking about this for so long. I want to make sure that anyone that's listening that's new that's might be considering QRL as a digital asset. This is a big one. As you're evaluating other quantum secure, quantum friendly, quantum anything projects, these are really good questions asked. Number one, is it audited? Number two, do they have an actual chain? Because a promise of some code by itself isn't really a thing. We've already been running for 6 or 7 years. If it's an ERC20, it's not quantum secure. And I'll just say that because just for this, there's a lot of reasons, but for the simplest one is if a quantum computer empties the wallet of wherever your tokens are stored, whether or not they're wrapped or whatever, the quantum computer can still empty all the Ethereum because Ethereum itself is not post-quantum secure. So is it audited? Is it an actual chain? make sure it's not an ERC20, and is it running a digital signature algorithm or code that is recognized by states and professionals as being quantum secure code, such as the NAST. We check all of those blocks, and when I'm thinking about what a post quantum secure blockchain project looks like, that's what I look for.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear some comments too from the community or from other communities or from other projects. And if our other projects would like to talk about the qualifiers too, I invite you to message me or message us on the team.
Yeah,
Go
for
ahead,
those
Ryan.
listening or viewing this, we did a full episode of we called it the checklist to look for. We can link to that
Mm-hmm.
within the show
Yeah,
notes
let's
of
link
this one
that.
on
Let's put
YouTube.
that in here for people that are considering our project, because
Yeah.
these are like 3 or 4 things. These just makes it's just logic. It just makes sense. It shows quality. It shows
Yeah.
commitment. It
We're
shows
going to
integrity.
do one more question here, and then I just pulled a couple more from the community as remaining questions and some of the live questions that came in. So this next one, Kaushal, is one that came in, which is what consensus mechanism does Zond use? How does it ensure security and decentralization? And how does Zond tackle interoperability with other blockchain networks, or how will Zond tackle interoperability? If you,
Okay. So for the consensus mechanism, we are using proof of stake for the Zond. And for the security, as I mentioned, we are not compromising anything with the post quantum security. But other than that, for the network and security, we are making sure that we are writing as much as tests, both unit tests and the integration test, to make sure we cover all the bugs or all the worst cases that is possible on a network, which is like having lots of loads on the network, transactions or lots of operations or very big smart contracts being executed. So we are trying to cover all those things using the tests, the both integration and the unit test. For the decentralization, as I mentioned, we have this 40,000 QR as the staking requirement, which still allows, if we, let's say if we have 80 million in our current supply, then that will still allow around 2000 validators to become the stake validator on the Zond network. But that's for the first release. But from the second, like after the first release, we are going to work or research on if there is possibility to do some kind of signature aggregation, which is still post quantum secure, which is not compromising any of our security. But if that signature aggregation or something like that with the post quantum security becomes possible, then the staking requirement would decline further, which will allow lots of stake validators to be the part of our network, which means it will become even more decentralized from what it is now. So yeah, so right now it is, of course, the first version would be decentralized, which is like people can should have 40,000 QR to stake. But then the research, if we find something, of course, it's just matter of time because we are on the post quantum security and there are lots of research still being done every day. Once we have that, it will become even more decentralized from the first version. With the interoperability, there is a big issue, which is our network is quantum secure, but the other blockchains are not. So if you do any kind of interoperability things, like you allow people with some kind of atomic swap or something to move your tokens from our blockchain to someone else blockchain, most probably you are losing the quantum security property. It's like our blockchain is quantum secure, but if you move that to other blockchain, then you are going to lose that main property. And we have to look into that. It's still the part of our research which will happen after the first release of the Zond mainnet. So it's not nothing that we are focusing in the interoperability in the first part. But yeah, the main hurdle with that is the loss of the quantum security on other blockchains. So that's what we have to look into.
So as far as just kind of summarize that a little bit, if you're talking about cross chain transfers, right? You're
Mhm.
essentially like two people shaking hands, right? We're we can't we can't shake a lot of hands because the transaction that we would do is not wouldn't be based on post quantum secure protocols. So when I say we're developing a new ecosystem, in a way, I mean this is a new ecosystem. Um, and there's ways to get around that with using centralized exchanges where they have their own nodes that are running and they do the swap for you and things like that. But as far as like DeFi compatibility, cross-chain compatibility with DeFi, that's still a challenge that we're going to be working on. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, even with the DeFi, we have to look into like, because the DeFi runs on some blockchain, and it's going to be the same thing. The whole idea behind DeFi supporting other blockchains is the same thing. You are moving one token from one blockchain to other blockchain, and that's going to be like losing the post quantum security if we have anything like that. But we have to look into that. Yeah, it's a very critical challenge and a good question too.
Yeah, thank you for covering that and a couple questions in one there. As we kind of wrap up this today's AMA, there's a couple questions we're pulling in, and the first of those is on from Moscow Chill. I'm just pulling this one in. Please expand on how we can possibly bridge stables onto QRL without requiring an ETH bridge token in an insecure way, like some coins. Let me know if you need me to read that one again, Kaushal, or if that one.
Can you read it for me one more time?
Yeah, please expand on how we can possibly bridge stables onto QRL without requiring an ETH bridge token in an insecure way, like some coins do. That's all the context I have on that.
It has a lot to do with what we just talked about, but I'll let you handle that, Kashal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the easiest way is whoever is the owner of the stable coin or any other token that they want to have the post quantum security, is they need to deploy another smart contract on our blockchain, and when they show the total supply they need to aggregate all the coins that is present on Zond blockchain and any other blockchain. So that becomes their total supply. And yeah, so the best way is they'd deploy a separate smart contract on the Zond, and it should be separated from any other blockchain. Should not have a bridge and all those stuffs. It is done in many blockchains. It's like many people does that. They have different smart contract on the Binance chain, and a different smart contract on the Ethereum, and they just generate tokens or the mint token, some tokens on the Ethereum network, some on the Binance chain, and that becomes the aggregated total supply becomes the sum of how much token is minted on Binance and how much on Ethereum. So that's the same way you can do on the Zond. You just deploy a new smart contract, mint there separately, and on Coin Market Cap or any other aggregator there you show that okay, the total supply is sum of uh, coins in this blockchain, that blockchain, and the Zond blockchain, something like that.
Post quantum secure stablecoins. I just like the way
Yeah.
it sounds.
We got two more to get to. The second one of these is kind of going to be a segue from this current one. This is another question we're just pulling in right now, and it's on the how up to date is current testnet. So the question is, can we test lift and shift EVM projects on it with reasonable certainty it will work as well on mainnet post Zon? That's what they're. So it says, how up to date is the current testnet, and can we test lift and shift EVM projects on it with reasonable certainty it'll work on mainnet?
Yeah, most of them will work. From most, I mean 95 to 99% should work without any issues. We are on the fork that we had from the Ethereum source code is the Shanghai one. So anything new, any new opcodes coming after that might not be there, but we will include that if it is required. But for now, any contract that you have 95 to 99% would work. You have to redo some of the web3 js stuff because lots of smart contract is same, but when you create the user interface, you have some cryptography signing stuff. You call the web3.js libraries to make a request that this has to be signed. So because our cryptography is going to change, so you have to make minor changes, not a huge changes on the web3.js stuff, but yeah, minor changes. And we have our own web3.js library. So all these decentralized applications come up with smart contract and the Web3 JS code. So the Web3 JS code act as a UI. Smart contract runs on the blockchain. Web3 JS code helps you to interact with the blockchain and get the data so that you can see like how much you hold something or any kind of information like that. So you have to work on the Web3 JS library, replacing from the Ethereum's Web3 JS library to the Zond Web3 JS library. But on the smart contract side, the work would be least, like most of the time you don't need to make any changes, except which I mentioned before is we are going to have a name change. So on the smart contract, on the first line, they always write pragma solidity then version. So that solidity will change to the new name that we are giving to our smart contract language with that, but most of the things will remain as it is.
Yeah, that'll be to come. As a closing question, I want to ask you one closing question, Kaushal, a good one for the community, and then wrap it up with one for Michael, for you as well. The one for you, Kaushal, as a wrap up, we've just spent an hour answering some really great and a diverse range of AMA questions. Myself and Michael, we're certainly going to have another call with you as we head into the early part of 2025 to continue on more AMA, more questions, be helpful for the community and those that are old and new. As a last question for you, Kaushal, we've talked a lot on specific aspects of development and types of, hey, beneficial reasons for people to build on testnet now, getting in early, and then in terms of the on-ramps and ease of taking maybe their Solidity skills and porting it over to what's to come with Zond. As a last question for you for this one today, Kaushal, can you give the viewer, if someone is listening to this and maybe they're a developer in our community and they're kind of deciding in their mind, do I wait until Zond's here to start building? Should I start now? Help encourage, get their second leg over the fence, so to speak, in terms of maybe a place to start, or maybe even a conversation to start to
First
really
mover,
get them encouraged in a positive way.
first mover advantage.
Yep.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Kishore.
yeah, except that it's a, if you start developing now, you will have first mover advantage, and that means a lot. It's not just that you're ahead of them, it's like you can get your application tested by our community, which means you are making aware of the community that you are building something on the Zond, and they know that okay, when the Zond mainnet will be released, then the community will be, because they already know your product, they may be using your product more than someone else, because someone who is behind, they have to do all those marketing stuff and everything, and you will be way ahead with them. So yeah, there is a pain and gain thing. Is like the pain would be, as we will be releasing new version, some of the deprecated things will be removed. So there could be some changes, like for this version, when you write a smart contract, you have pragma solidity and something like that, you do that. But the next version, you will be writing pragma and then the new name that we have assigned to the solidity, and then the version plus the Web3 JS library will change a bit. So yeah, there would be a pain, but that would not be way too big. It's not a big change that you have to rewrite everything from fresh. It's like just one or two lines, something like that would change. But the benefit is you are going to make awareness of your product or the application that you are developing on the Zond with the community. So that's a big advantage. Plus, in case you need any help in between, the developers are always there. You can send email, you can ask on Discord, wherever, whatever media you want to use, whatever platform you want to use, you can always communicate with us, and we will try our best to provide you the best solution that is possible for you to keep on making progress with your product. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you for covering that, Kaushal. He was referring to either email or QRL Discord. We'll have links to that below. If you're listening on X, Twitter Spaces, just search. We have the link on our main website as well. Michael, as a wrap up on our end, developers, retail alike, give us a takeaway in terms of getting people. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of stir going on in the quantum news, a lot of stuff tied to post quantum cryptography. Bring us home by just touching on, there's a lot of spaces, a lot of projects going on. Why should people, alongside the first mover advantage part, why should people, whether we're talking on the retail side all the way up to big institutional players, What's the uniqueness on driving it home in terms of why Project Zond is really going to matter in 2025 and beyond?
Sure.
As a wrap up.
So I'm gonna. There's been some chat. I mean, obviously, quantum has been a its buzzword amplitude has been increasing quite a bit lately, and there's some negative comments on social media that I just want to address to. I want to be clear about this. First of all, we're not fighting Bitcoin. We're not fighting Ethereum. I've been in blockchain since 2013. I feel passionate about this technology. I own Bitcoin, Ethereum, lots of other things. We're not fighting it. However, the engineer in me can't ignore risks because my background is network engineering and network security. So I can't ignore risks that are showing a pattern. So essentially, what we're doing here is building out a safe, quantum secure ecosystem, which would be similar to like in IT if you were doing if there's any other network engine, if you're doing IT/OT segmentation or essentially segmenting out pieces of your network. If the network is an ecosystem, then we're the segmented part off that's both classically secure and post-quantum secure. And this is novel. This is something that it's taken us years to develop. So it's a really exciting time, and if anyone thinks that we're fighting, we're not fighting. We're cryptocurrency enthusiasts. I'm not necessarily a Bitcoin maxi, but I get it. But we're an insurance. We're quantum insurance. It's the data's there. You can look it up and just see things are improving.
And those
IBM made some great progress on on one of the biggest limitations with their Willow processor, or was it Google or IBM? One of the two. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, and anyone that's joining in, obviously there's, news is going to ebb and flow, but if you get back to the point that Michael made 20 minutes ago in terms of looking at the checklist of what a project, if it hits those check marks of, is it audited? Is it recognized? If it's an ERC-20, it's not post-quantum secure. Going back to that, we're not a fly-by-night operation. We've have an active chain since 2018. And whether you've been around the project for 6 years or 6 days, we're making some big moves. And this is Project Zond that's upcoming is an evolution of what we've been working on for many years. And wrapping up this one, Kaushal, we really appreciate you as the lead blockchain developer on this project. There's so much that's going on behind the scenes amongst our team, and we like bringing it to light in a front-facing way. So we really appreciate you coming on and answering a ton of these AMA questions that were just popping up, and you're answering them in real time with us. So myself and Michael, we appreciate you coming on. For those that are listening right now and viewing, if you're not already doing so, make sure that you join our vibrant Discord community. And make sure that if you're not already subscribed to our YouTube, do that as well. That way, whenever we come up with new content, whether it's awesome AMA content such as this with the core team, or if it's just big updates and announcements regarding Project Zond and where QRL is headed towards that, you're the first to know. And if you're listening to this or viewing this, just give yourself a little pat on the back, knowing that you are still very early in terms of where the world is going in a post-quantum era. Just like a lot of people wish, really wish I was earlier with Bitcoin or Ethereum. You can't change the past. You can't go to that. But what you can do is we are nearing in on the beginning of 2025. You can be a part of, whether you're a developer, you want to build, whether you're on the retail side, you can be a part of where this project is going. And we appreciate you giving us your time and join our vibrant Discord community. Join the conversation. We're very, very welcoming, open-minded.
Ask us questions.
Yeah. Until
we're
the
an open
next,
book.
Yeah, absolutely. And until the next episode, myself, Michael, Kaushal, we appreciate you being with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.